Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you a 2012 team preview for the New Orleans Saints. So let's start with their offense to see what we can expect the Saints to look like this upcoming season.
As long as Drew Brees is back there healthy for 16 games, the Saints won't miss a beat offensively. Yes, you can go without Sean Payton. Yes, you can go without Pete Carmichael. Drew Brees really is the leader and the coach on the field. So the Saints need him to be out there for 16 games. And I fully believe that they will get the deal done and he'll be out there happy, ready to play and leading this offense, because he is the Saints offense. He is the Saints franchise. And without Drew Brees back there at quarterback, the Saints are realistically a 8 or 9 win team. So with Drew Brees, they're a Super Bowl contender. They have a solid backup, Chase Daniel, just in case Drew Brees can't start the season or goes down. I fully believe Chase Daniel will be a solid player in this league. As much as everyone talks about the passing game and the Saints putting up 5,000 yards passing and 45 points, the real reason why the Saints are able to do what they do in the passing game is because they can run the football with the best in the league. You talk about a three-headed monster with Pierre Thomas, Mark Ingram once he gets back healthy, and Darren Sproles. All three guys bring something different to the table, and you can't forget about Chris Ivory, a guy that's a true thumper. So they really go 4 deep at tailback, and when they're fresh and they're hitting on all cylinders, that opens up the play action pass. It opens up the opportunity for Drew Brees to find those one-on-one matchups down the field, and that just opens up the entire offense. The Saints also do a great job of running out of spread formations. What that does is allow you to get to the second level faster and utilize your God-given instinct. So a lot of times the Saints running backs aren't even touched until they get to the second level, and then they make one miss. So I look for the Saints running game to have a repeat performance in 2012. The Saints seem to find big playmakers in the receiving game year in, year out. Last year it was Jimmy Graham utilizing his 6'8" frame to make plays downfield and just opening up the entire offense. When you look at a guy like Graham and you team him up in the slot next to a guy like Marcus Colson, safeties, linebackers, slot corners have a difficult time matching up, and that's what the Saints passing game is all about. It's about creating mismatches. By you spreading the field, you open up one-on-one opportunities. You allow these guys to make plays in space. So it doesn't matter who you put in there. That's why it seems like every year the Saints have a big playmaker that they feature. That's why I believe Nick Toon, the rookie out of Wisconsin, will have a solid rookie season playing for the New Orleans Saints. He's going to do a great job of replacing Robert Meacham. He won't bring the speed to the table that Meacham brought, but he will bring the Lance Moore-like route running, the Lance Moore-like clutchness, and the Lance Moore-like ability after the catch. So the Saints receiving core, as long as they stay healthy and as long as they have Drew Brees throwing the football to them, will always put up huge numbers. Losing Carl Nixon free agency was a huge loss, but gaining a guy, a former first-round pick and Pro Bowl, and Ben Grubbs was a huge gain. That's just going to help continue that continuity on that Saints offensive line. You team him up next to Brian De La Puente, and they will definitely be able to open up even more holes in the running game. De La Puente did a great job replacing Olin Cruz. Jari Evans is another all-pro guard, so the Saints are fine on the interior. My question mark is still on the outside, where you have guys like Jermar Bushrod and also Zach Strief. I'm still not sold on those guys being able to protect Drew Brees against elite pass rushers, but the Saints do have some solid depth. Charles Brown has to stay healthy in order to provide some type of production on that offensive line, but Drew Brees does a great job of making the offensive line look better than what it is because of his ability to get rid of the football quickly. If you have that asset as a quarterback, then every offensive lineman that lines up in front of you will look like an all-pro. The defensive line for the New Orleans Saints is where Steve Spagnuolo will have to work his magic. To me, the Saints have some solid players, but not elite pass rushers. Guys like Will Smith, who's going to miss the first 4 games due to suspension, and a guy like Cameron Jordan. I think Cameron Jordan is very stout against the run, does a great job of sealing the edge. I just think he has to improve his pass rushing abilities. But by Will Smith being suspended for 4 games, it gives guys like Junior Gillette the opportunity to get in there and use his pass rushing ability. He has that burst up the line of scrimmage that you love. I like the signing of Broderick Bunkley. What that is going to do is allow Cedric Ellis to get back to his 2009 form, where he was able to push the pocket and get pressure on a QB. Bunkley is a guy that is very strong at the point of attack and can also push the pocket as well. But they're going to miss Will Smith the first 4 games. He's also another guy that's very solid against the run. The Saints have a lack of depth here on the defensive line. That's something that could be a question mark going into 2012. The Saints linebacking core was a one-man unit last year, and that was Jonathan Vilma. They had a lot of question marks all over the place, and I think they got significantly better in the offseason by bringing over a guy in David Hawthorne from the Seattle Seahawks. He brings a lot of versatility. He can play it inside or he can play outside. They bring over Curtis Lofton, I thought was one of the better linebackers in the NFC South, a guy that had one of the best units in the NFC period with the Falcons. And you bring over a guy in Chris Chamberlain who has experience in Spagnuolo's defense, so he should bring a lot to the table. I like what I see out of Martez Wilson. This is a guy that's very athletic. He can play in coverage situations. He can also stop the run, and you might see him on a defensive line in certain pass rushing situations. Just gives a lot of versatility to your defense. So I look at the Saints linebacking core last year, huge weakness, huge liability, might be one of the division's best. If Vilma can also return back from his suspension, he's looking to get it overturned. If that happens, this unit would definitely be one of the top in the division. The Saints secondary is one that has some bright spots, but also has some room for improvement. In my opinion, I like Jabari Greer. If he can stay out there for 16 games, he's one of the better corners in the league. Patrick Robinson is a guy that I've been down on, but he got better week in, week out, so he's vastly improved over last year. I want to see him continue his improvement and build on his awareness. That's one thing I think he lacks, is that situational awareness. I like Johnny Patrick actually over him. I think Patrick deserves to be that number 2 corner. In the safety position is Roman Harper and also Malcolm Jenkins. Both guys do some things well, and they struggle in certain areas. I think Roman Harper honestly should just move down the linebacker, bulk up a little bit, go down the linebacker, play in nickel situations. The closer he is to the line of scrimmage, the more effective he is. If he's back there in the back half of your defense in coverage situations, he will struggle. Malcolm Jenkins is another guy that should benefit from another safety. So if the Saints want to go to a big nickel look, a 3 safety look, I really like what I see out of Issa Abdul-Quadis. I think that guy is a tremendous hitter and should do a great job out there if given the opportunity. So I'm interested to see how the Saints overcome their lack of depth in the secondary to provide better results. All of the key offensive components return for the New Orleans Saints, and that's the real reason why you have to have optimism. The Saints live and die by their offense, their ability to outscore opponents, and they also have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. So that's why you can have optimism. They also got better in the linebacking core. They have a solid special teams unit with return units and also coverage units. So there's a lot of optimism for New Orleans. Plus, you can't underestimate the fact that they'll be playing with the us against the world type of mentality throughout the course of the season. I still look at the lack of depth in the secondary as a cause for concern. I'm still worried about Roman Harper back there as a coverage guy. Close to line of scrimmage, all pro. Back there in the back half of your defense, question mark. Can Spagnuolo get these guys to play up to their potential? Can he get the defensive line, more importantly, to get pass rush? That's some concerns I have for the New Orleans Saints. I still think the Saints finished first in the NFC South. Reason why? Offensive output. You have to score points in this league to win, and the Saints can definitely average 40 points a game if they so well choose to. Defensively, they don't have to be a #1 defense. They just don't have to be last in almost every category. If they can get around to the middle of the pack, 15, 16, this team will still put up a bunch of points and win a lot of ball games. Just on talent alone, right now looking at the roster, the Saints have a 11 to 12 win type of team. So if they could just improve defensively, at least up to 15th, 16th in the league, the Saints team can realistically be back in the playoffs and make a deep run and probably be in position to be the first team ever to host a Super Bowl on their home turf.